Well, again, welcome. My name is Dave, and I work for the library. And in my former life, I lived in Los Angeles for about 8 or 9 years. I went to film school at Loyola Marymount University, and my major was film production with an emphasis in directing and then animation. So it's kind of the social and the nerdy aspects of filmmaking. After I graduated, I worked on such films as Beethoven's Fourth. You might have seen it. Beethoven the dog runs around, causes shenanigans. I was a production assistant on that. And then I had a lot of other just random work, as you do if you're doing freelance film, working as a production assistant, working as assistant camera on independent shoots and things. I actually filled in for a friend of mine on Vanilla Sky one week at Paramount. I think they didn't know that I wasn't him, so I kind of stepped in, which was cool. But they expected me to know a lot more than I did because I didn't know anybody working on it either. So movie making is adventure of the highest order, regardless. I think if you're shooting your own movie, that's adventure. If you're shooting a movie with other people, that's also adventure. But it is, I think, the ultimate form of human expression. It incorporates everything that people have learned how to do, art and music and speech writing. It incorporates props and special effects. So crazy engineering, crazy electronics and whatever. That's the post-production. It also involves planning of the highest order, because the plans that you make shift. They'll change at a moment's notice, and you have to be really flexible, but you also have to be very focused on your finished goal. So you can't ever lose sight of the goal or what the plan is, but you've got to be willing to just completely change the plan as you go along. So it's like an exercise in just rolling with it, and it's a lot of fun, and it can totally freak you out also. So let me find, is there an extra one of these flyers? I'll try to, yes, great. I'll try to follow along. I tried to set this thing up so that right now, if you have a pen, or maybe there are a few pens or pencils people can share, but I wanted to make this as practical and useful a thing as it could possibly be. So this is kind of set up like a little workbook. I worked on writing this today, and I'm just saying, in the very first page, just do these steps. So if these steps are all accomplished, you'll have a movie, and you'll have it into the 24-hour film festival. People will see it. People might like it. They might not. That's really not your business. Honestly, who cares other than yourself if somebody else likes the movie? There's always somebody who's going to see it and say, yay, or someone will see it and just totally disparage whatever it is you've made. So make the movie for yourself. That's the first thing to decide, because then you'll actually care about what you're making, and it'll happen. It'll happen. So if you can do these 4 things, pre-production, which is the planning of the movie, production, which is the shooting of the movie, getting it actually done, actors and all of that, post-production, which is editing the movie, taking everything you've shot now, putting it together into a movie with music and separate shots and scenes, and then distribution. So distribution in the movie industry sense is sort of like, yay, we have a distribution deal. We're going to have it in theaters across the country, or it's a DVD distribution deal. It'll be out on Blu-ray, and people can rent it or see it. Those are all kinds of distribution. You're all here because you're interested in the 24-hour film festival, and so by definition, when we say distribution for this, all that means is you just have to get your movie into the festival. It's got to be there. It's got to be there on time, and it has to be there in some format that they can actually play. So we'll talk about that too. That's all you have to do to get your film distributed. You're distributing it to the film festival. Moving on down to the bottom half of this page, to get it done, I wrote some quick tips, and these tips apply to making the movie, and they apply to making any movie somewhat, but in this case there's some really specific tips that are just for the 24-hour film festival, and I'll run through those really quick just so everybody hears them too. You can read them on your own, but I'll say them, that way it might catch your attention too. quick tip number 1, make it short and sweet. So make your movie as short as you can, but get the movie done. Tell the story, but don't make it any longer. If you try to make a movie that's 20 minutes long or 30 minutes long, your 24-hour film will turn into a 48 or 72-hour film project, and it might be a great movie, but you won't be in the running for the festival. So aim to make a movie that's between 2 and 5 minutes long. I think that right there, if you aim for 2 and 5 minutes, you're setting yourself up for success instead of pushing the limits. And you're welcome to push the limits. Nobody's going to tell you you can't do some crazy, ambitious movie. By all means, if you have an idea to do that and you are determined and you think you know how to do it, then maybe you should. You probably should, but I'd say 2 to 5 minutes. As few locations as possible. Every location you shoot at is at least an hour of wrangling people, getting them to go somewhere, getting all the stuff you need. I'm standing in a pile of production equipment here. We'll break it all out, but this is very minimal. I mean, a lot of productions you'll have, 2 or 3 cases like this. You might have a bunch of other lights and stuff. A lot of stuff, a lot of people, a lot of props. Somebody's got to have a key to get into the place. So every possible thing can go wrong when you change locations. It's when things dissolve and you have to bring everything back together. So the fewer times you have to do that, the better. Get a crew that can stay the whole time. That's a really important one for the 24-hour festival. Even if your crew is just 2 people, somebody maybe directing and shooting, and then somebody helping out with lights and the script. If it's just 2 people, you still need to make sure that they're both there the whole time, because it's a very focused, kind of intimate working project, because once you get into the swing of this, you don't have time to keep bringing somebody new up to speed. Like, say, you can be there for half the time, and then a friend of yours comes in for the second half. There's everything you learned in the first half you're walking away with, and now she has to get somebody else up to speed to help her just to get the scenes done. So you should find somebody that's going to commit for the whole project. 24 hours. 24 hours, you are partners in crime. Only don't commit real crimes. Or just don't tell us about it. Number 3. Oh, that's number 3. Number 4 is find somebody who has an editing setup and knows how to use it. This is a tip, and I'm saying it as a quick tip because this would speed things along. If you don't know anybody who knows how to edit, then we'll talk about that when we talk about post-production. There are some easy ways you can edit with your computer. You may already have the program on your computer and not know about it. But editing is a world of skill, and it's a process unto itself. You would do much better if you found somebody that already knows how to edit. They have a computer, they have hard disk space, and they have a program that they've been playing with. Maybe they only edit little videos for YouTube or something. If you know them, get them to be on your team. Go convince them to join your team, if only just for the last part. And just get it cleared with them so at 3 in the morning you're done shooting and you need to edit this. That's when you wake them up and you bring them on and they can do their magic. But it's going to be really important that somebody has it as their job to edit. And we'll even talk more about what editing is and kind of what needs to be done to take a movie from what you've shot to a movie that you can show people. And last one at the top is leave time for outputting, burning to DVD, or putting it onto a chip. This is the most forgotten step, and this is a step that didn't even exist maybe 5 or 6 years ago, or it did, but it's so different now because everybody can shoot a movie. The equipment for shooting a movie is available to everybody. I've got my own movie studio I carry in my pocket. I can record. I put a little 8 gig chip in this. I can record something like 15 hours of video on this thing. It doesn't have a very good quality. It's only 720 by 480, but you know what? That's the same quality as TVs up until about 3 years ago. Like, you remember standard definition TV and the big switch to high definition. Well, all the crummy cameras on your phones are better than regular TV of 5 years ago. So here you go. And I can get Movie Maker, the program, on the phone, and I can actually edit my movies on the phone. And in fact, there's nothing in the contest that says you can't do that. So maybe you don't have an excuse. You should be able to get or find a camera, or just use your darn phone and figure out what you can edit it with, and figure out how to do the whole process with this. But the process of getting it from the computer onto, where did I put them? I had some props sitting out here. I had some DVD. Oh yeah, there we go. No, that's great. Get your movie out of the computer and onto a DVD. You need a computer that has a DVD burner, and you need a program that you're going to edit with that will let you burn a DVD. So the one program that we've been recommending, because it's free and everybody has it, it's just Windows Movie Maker. So there are hundreds of solutions you can find. Some are free, some you have to pay something for. Some are really great, like Adobe Premiere Pro, but you'll pay $1,000 for the program or $500 for the program. So we'll leave it up to you, but leave yourself at least 3 hours between. I mean, it's easy for me to say this now because it's always a race to the finish, but leave yourself some time just to get it out of the computer and onto one of these things. And I'm going on about it. I'll stop, but that's the most frustrating thing that that's happened to me a few times. Is you are so close, the movie's done, you can watch it on your computer. You've got a half hour before you have to turn it in. What's the time that we have to turn everything in?
11 a.m.
11 a.m. on Sunday. Yeah, 11 a.m. on Sunday. It's 10:30 a.m. Yes, the movie's done, and we can watch it. Guess what? You go to put it on a DVD, and now it says, stand by, formatting video for DVD writing. You sit here and watch a bar, and it says 2 hours remaining, 45 minutes remaining. You don't know exactly how long your computer's going to do this, but it's going to take you an hour, probably. Let's be honest. It might go really well, but I would say it's going to take you an hour, maybe two, because maybe the first disc pops out bad. I don't know why they do that, but it might. It's stupid, but you have to expect stupid stuff to happen. So it's kind of like Murphy's Law. So set yourself up for success. Don't rely on anything. Don't expect anything to really work right. I mean, it's like war. It's like you're in a logistical battle against time, and not so much each other, but against time and the elements to get your story told and put on film. So you should be very excited. You should drink a lot of coffee, but you should also expect to be dealing with unexpected things. So that was a pitch, because I also own Solar Roast Coffee downtown, so go drink some coffee. That was to get it done, and I'll just run through these. To make it good, so to make your movie good, if you do all these things, your movie will happen and it will get done. Probably you'll get it done. To make your movie actually good and not just totally terrible, my first recommendation is to find or borrow or steal, or I don't care, but get a tripod, because most movies look terrible because they're shot handheld, especially if you're going to shoot with a phone. It's shaky. You can't tell what's going on. Somebody talks. Well, let's look over here. Let's look over here. It's terrible. Those are home movies. You're all filmmakers here. We're making movies. So, take yourself seriously. Take your craft seriously. This is one of many different kinds. The biggest difference between a film or video tripod and just a still camera tripod is a film and video tripod, at least a good one, usually has, I'll move this up. It usually has a fluid head. So there is something in here that rubs together, but it rubs together very smoothly. So if I have a camera on here and I pan left, I can kind of feel it. It has some resistance to it. It speeds up, it slides, and then it slows down before it stops. Very smooth. It's hard to shoot something shaky on a camera or on a tripod like this. There are tripods for still cameras, and they're very much the same thing. They don't have a fluid head though. Usually they're just made for, okay, I'm going to take a picture of a canyon, get this set up here, lock it all down, click. Okay, but if you have nothing else, a still camera tripod is just fine too. I mean, it'll work just fine. You can even pan with them. Also, still camera tripods a lot of times have, this one doesn't because it's a video tripod, they have a plate that can flip sideways. You know what I'm talking about? Have you seen those? So that's how you can tell the difference between them, because still cameras, people like to shoot like this or like this, so the tripods usually flip. But this one's actually really cool because you can see it has a little bubble level in the top, so it's a nice feature, and you could set this thing up on uneven ground. Here I am, I'm shooting outside on like a patio or something, and there's no room for that other leg, so I put that there. That's about as good as I can get it. I mean, time's a wasting. I don't have time to mess with the leg, so I can just loosen this up and set the level, and there it is. It's all level. So put this over here. To make it good, number 2, pay attention to sound. We'll get into that after I go through this too. We'll talk about sound specifically in your movie. If you've seen 24-hour films, if you've seen anybody's films, not necessarily here or there or anywhere, but if you've seen amateur films, one of the real clues is, that's an amateur film. That's just somebody who has no idea what they're doing. You can't even hear what people are saying. That's the first thing. You see people, it maybe even looks good, but you can't hear it at all. And there are some specific things you need to do so that people can hear what you're saying. If you don't have microphones, and I'm wearing a microphone, you can hide this is a lavalier wireless lav. The receiver is a little radio that's plugged into the top of the camera. You can get these from Best Buy or Radio Shack. You could borrow them from your church, because churches almost always have one of these things. Or you can get a wired lav, and I'll show you that in a minute too. But use a microphone if you can get one. It's great. You can put it on someone, or if you have a scene where people are sitting around at a table, why don't you use a little bit of tape and just tape it to the very back of the teapot or the milk jug. Just plant it, hide it right in the scene. Everybody is sitting around talking. Just hide the little microphone right there, and you'll get really good sound. And people will not even notice that you have good sound. They'll just know that your movie looks better. Number 3, pay attention to light. So all a camera sees is light. The only thing that ends up on film or recorded is the light that bounces off the subject. It bounces off people. It bounces off tables. I mean, light from the sun strikes the wall reflects it back, goes into my eyes, or in this case, the camera. Well, if the light is bad, your movie will look bad. So if you have somebody standing in front of a window and you aim a camera at them, what are they going to look like? Yeah, there'll be a silhouette. Most likely a silhouette, because a lot of cameras are fully automatic. And if you have a camera that lets you do manual things, you could crank open the iris. You could adjust how it's exposing so that you'd look fine, but the background would be blown out white. But usually, if you have a person standing in front of something that's bright, you can't see their face at all. It's like you're blocking. It's like they're a witness. They're in the witness protection program or something. So maybe that's a stylistic choice. If you want them to look like that, then now you know a good way of achieving that. Just put somebody in front of something really bright. But if that's not what you want, then don't do that. Number 4 is rehearse a little bit on set with your actors. So it's really important. You've got time to rehearse. You may only have 24 hours, but what people see when they watch your movie is they see performance. They see nothing that's happening behind the camera. They don't see any of you're planning or driving or any of the trouble you went through, what they see is the performance from the actors telling the story. So if you needed to spend time on one thing, once you have all this other stuff, you need to spend it with your actor and on the performance. Just rehearse it once, twice, 3 times. Talk about it a little bit. You know, the actor might really say, "What's my motivation? You know, what do I need to? What am I trying to say here?" And the director can say, "Well, in the script, you're supposed to be pretending like you're upset. You're not really upset, so don't really cry. But you need to be. You're keeping a secret. You already know, so you need to pretend you're upset when they tell you this, even though you're not." So someone will kind of, if they're an actor, they're a good actor, they're thinking about it, that'll come through, is what I'm saying. And then do more than one take if you need. So don't feel like you're ever in such a hurry that you can only do one take. It's like, we don't have time, that's it, that's fine. Have you seen Ed Wood? The movie Ed Wood? It's directed by Tim Burton. It's really funny. I've got a warped sense of humor though, so you might not take my word for it, but it's incredibly funny. And Ed Wood is this director he's renowned now for being terrible. He's considered by many to be the worst director of all time. And what he always did was he would get everything set up and he'd say action, and then something would happen. The film would play out. Somebody would run into a wall. Just something stupid would happen. They're shooting in a graveyard. Somebody knocks over the tombstones. And the scene ends. He says, "Cut, that's great, perfect, let's move on." You know, that's perfect. And that was it. That was his answer for every single take. He did everything in one take. It was all terrible. So don't be that guy. Unless it's a stylistic choice, because it's your movie, so make it how you want. But, you know, do more than one take if you don't want it to look crappy. To the next page. This is stuff you can complete now if you're bored with me talking and you just kind of want to listen along, or do it on your own time. But I made a little worksheet, and this is to help you. You can come up with your own questions if you want, but this gets to all the big questions about your movie. My movie is about, I didn't leave very much space. It has to be a one-liner. Just write a one-line thing that's going to force you to say what your movie's about in one line. My story has these characters, and then character 1, character 2, character 3. This is great because when you leave or after you filled this out, you'll already have the making of a film. You will have had the seed of pre-production already started. So I think by the time you leave today, that's at least my goal, is for you to be saying, yeah, I'm already making this. I'm in pre-production. Now I need to find an actor, change some things out, but these are the actors I can get. So write them down. You don't have to know who they're going to play, but if you know somebody who's funny or who can act or who can pretend or just can do something weird, just weird that you want to be in your movie, write their name down here. And then, if you want, put their phone number. You could make your own contact list. Depends on how organized you want to get. The more organized, the better. Unless you're like me, if I get too organized, I get so obsessed with it that I'm focusing on the organization and then I don't get anything done. So be as organized as you need to be. And these are some locations I can use. You can shoot in the library, can't you?
Sure. Well,
Is
it's
it
open until 6.
Okay, so from 11 on Saturday till 6 is the library. So if you want, write down the library right now on your sheet. Library is an open location to you, free and open to the public. Maybe your home is somewhere you can shoot already. Places around downtown. So whatever your movie is, you can already be thinking, just picturing locations. Again, keep it to as few locations as possible. But and it doesn't have to be the library. Everybody's going to shoot their movie in this room. So it's going to happen. I tell them that, and then every single movie will take place here. These are some special elements I can use, costumes, props, etc. Sometimes, for instance, I know a guy that has a suit of armor, and that suit of armor totally inspired an entire short film because he has it. It's like, I can make a whole movie with this suit of armor. Somebody's in it. So there's an example of prop or maybe somebody who's got an awesome muscle car, or you've got a Model T and you want to shoot something that's black and white and looks like a period piece. Well, that one car might be like the main prop in your movie. So write that down, and then you can think of costumes and locations where it's just old-fashioned buildings and things other than that. So that's what that's for. And to the next page is the pre-production checklist. This might be a little redundant, but you can check this once you've done the other stuff. Write the idea down, write a short script, draw a storyboard, write a short script. You don't have to have a written script, but it can really help. And thing about a script is it helps you time out your movie, because just describing what happens in a movie, script is double-spaced. It's Courier or New Courier font, size 12, with 1-inch margins. It's pretty much what Microsoft Word will give you when you just start it. If you make a script like that, one page pretty much equals 1 minute. I don't know why. It seems like it's a law of nature, is that one page of a movie script equals a minute of finished movie. Even with editing and dialogue and stuff, it's just kind of how it works out. So if you are planning on a 5-minute movie, your script can't be 30 pages long. It's going to have to be about 5 pages long. So that should help a little bit. And draw a storyboard to shoot with. I put on everybody flip to the very last page of this thing. I put it on the last page so you can tear it right off the back without having to unstaple and mangle your whole thing. This is this is like a really at least clean or organized storyboard shoot. I think you're already kind of working on a storyboard there, or no? Okay. Yeah. So this is your screen. The storyboard is a comic book version of your movie. So it helps you if you go through the process of making a storyboard. You're already thinking about what things look like. Who's in the scene? How is it framed? I mean, is it a really dark scene? Is the camera tilted like this because it's supposed to be really creepy, or it's supposed to emphasize, the characters. The character is feeling very unstable, so we'll give the camera an unstable tilt. I mean, there are all kinds of things you can do, and it comes through in the storyboard. So if you draw a storyboard, it makes you think about all this stuff. It makes you think about, how am I going to show this? There's somebody at the top of the stairs, but then there's somebody at the bottom of the stairs who drops something, and you're trying to draw it in here. It's like, there's no way in the world I can get the top of the stairs and the bottom of the stairs in the same shot. And you maybe wouldn't know that until you tried to draw it. So storyboard helps you be prepared. And I put a little thing for shot number. So the first shot that you see in the movie, the second shot, third shot. So you could take this, tear it off, copy it, make 30 pages of it. That's like 60 shots or something. 40 pages, or just make as many as you want, and you'll have enough to do your storyboard. You don't have to fill in anything. If you're like me, I really don't even like to write stuff a lot. I kind of made it gratuitously organized. So if you really need to fall back on process, the process is right there. So you actually can just do it meticulously. It'll all be right there, and it'll work out really well. You don't have to do any of this. Movie making isn't a requirement. It's very fun. I mean, it's a fun thing. So do what's going to help you get it done. I'll flip back to where I was there. Pre-production checklist. Yeah, back on the pre-production checklist. And these are things that you'll all have to do between now and the start of Saturday. At 11 a.m. on Saturday, you should have all of these things checked. You should figure out one way or another how to check every single one of these things. Wrote a script, short script. Short script could be a paragraph, or just say, I'm not writing this script, and that's the script for your film. But address every one of these things. Get a crew who can help you. Find actors who can be in it. Get your locations lined up, and in what order. So here's something really important to note about production planning. Movies are usually shot out of sequence. So usually you don't start with the first scene when they shoot it and go to the second, third, fourth, and fifth. And then when they have a flashback to someone at an airport running, let's go to the airport. Okay, we'll shoot this. And then you go back to the movie, we'll shoot this. And then, oh, there's another flashback. Let's go back to the airport. No, you only go to the airport once. You only go to your house once to shoot. You only go to the library to shoot once. So when you're organizing your movie, let's say you have a whole storyboard of your movie done. Maybe photocopy it, so you've got one storyboard that's all in nice order, and then the second storyboard, cut out all the frames, like just cut them all apart, and then organize them so that everything that takes place in the library is stapled together in one pile. Everything that happens at your house or in your basement or something is in another pile. So that when you go to shoot this, you go to one of these locations, and like I was just saying earlier, it's really hard to get from location A to B. Everybody splits, and you've got to get all your stuff loaded in through the front door or back door, and where the batteries go, where my keys go, where is everything. The fewer times you have to change locations, the better. So you better shoot everything that takes place at that location when you get there. You can go back if you have to, but maybe you won't have time. You only have 24 hours for the whole thing, so don't set yourself behind by forgetting a shot. Be organized enough to shoot everything at that location. Get together any special costumes, makeup, or props. If you know somebody who's really good at makeup, it really helps. Everybody should have makeup, I think, for shooting, because everybody is sort of naturally a little bit shiny, and nobody looks like a movie star naturally. And when you see somebody up on a screen and they're lit, there's this certain look. You look at them and say, that's a movie star. Or you don't even notice it. You're like, I'm watching a movie. Everybody's got makeup on. If only just some powder so that you're not shiny, or or if you're making a vampire movie, well, you get some pale makeup and do veins and the whole thing, or effects makeup. Or there's something gruesome that happens. Somebody gets bit by a zombie in the neck or something. You're going to need some special makeup. So.
Somebody that doesn't know anything about makeup, what can you suggest for them to?
Oh yeah, baby powder. Yeah, if you don't have any other options, if you have baby powder and like a sponge or even a cotton ball, and you have to not gob it on, but just a little bit, you can kind of powder someone up a bit. But I would just go to like a makeup store, talk to a girl. Girls know about makeup. I mean, that's an overgeneralization, but my wife knows everything about makeup. I know nothing about it. I try to get somebody to help. She's the first person I call. So somebody knows about makeup. So if you're the producer of the film, figure out who it is who can help you with this particular topic, because there really are too many topics for one person to solve. Hence your crew, and hence working in a team, because a movie is a group project. It's not just one person. It can be as few as 2 people, but if those 2 people then turn around and get other talented people on board, that's how real movies get made. A real movie is like an army of us. It's like a social network army of hundreds of people. Everybody has got a skill, and they're all doing their thing. So get all your production equipment together. Be ready to edit the movie somewhere. So find somebody who has a computer, turn it on, make sure the program works, shoot something, and edit it. Like before you do this, like do this tomorrow. Find somebody that's got all this thing and try to edit like a 30-second clip of you saying testing, testing, and then it cuts. Testing, testing, cuts, testing. Just something so you can do the process, and then put it onto a DVD, and then stick it in your DVD player. I would encourage everybody to just test their production pipeline. That's what you'd call it in the industry, is the post-production pipeline. It's how does the media move through this whole editing system to the point that it goes to distribution. So prove it to yourself that you can do this, because the next time you do it, it's going to be 4 a.m, and you're going to be tired. And whoever it is who's helping you edit just needs to know what's going on. And then number 10, last but not least, is figure out how in the world you're going to eat during the 24-hour film festival shoot, because you will collapse. You will utterly collapse if you don't take time to eat, or you don't have somebody in charge of just, you call it craft services on a movie set. Craft services is in charge of keeping this endless buffet going. So there are times when people can go eat, but usually there's an endless buffet. There's endless coffee, endless just stuff to eat. And you need to keep your energy up. This is a higher energy thing that you're going to endeavor. It's a higher energy thing than is normal life. Movie making is entirely non-sustainable. A human being cannot make movies indefinitely. A movie has to have a beginning, a middle, and an end, and so does the process. It'll kill you if you don't, keep drinking water, keep eating, eat energy bars. Try to sleep the night before. So those are good things, I think, to have on the checklist. There might be some other things, but for sake of a good whole number, those are those 10 things. And that is the pre-production part of it. Does anybody need to take a break or get some water? Or? All right. Well, why don't we launch right in? We'll just look at production equipment. I brought some stuff that the library purchases and uses for all of its video production. We do events at the library mostly, so I'm really well set up with just a few things to be able to pick it up, go to some place in the library, or go to one of the other library branches, kind of set up with lights and everything, and be shooting in less than 10 or 15 minutes. So I think it's pretty applicable to what you'll be doing for the 24-hour festival. The equipment they have is of one kind, and you'll probably find equipment of another, but let's take a look. So, first thing on the list, video camera of some kind. Well, we've got these. These are XF100. They're Canon cameras. They record in high definition. A lot of cameras will have, I'll put a little battery on it so you can see. Such a nice feature now with cameras. Honestly, this is great. Is they have a screen that sticks out the side, and you can look at it, and you can share. You can share what you're shooting with somebody. So you can. I'll zoom out here. You can discuss the shot. It's like, well, you want to have some of the ceiling in it, or do you need to just keep that out, or we need to be a little bit zoomed in? It's so much easier to communicate when you've got a camera with a screen. Most cameras now record solid state. So I'll turn this down, turn this off. This camera records onto compact flash chips. So if you have a digital camera that you use at home for stills, you probably have seen. I mean, does this look weird or foreign to anybody? This is
bigger than what I've seen.
Yeah, and they come in different sizes. Some are really tiny, but these compact flash, it's pretty normal. So your camera probably has something like this. Your camera might have a different kind, but they all have one thing in common. It's very easy to pull it out of your camera and stick it into your computer. So that's what I would suggest looking for. If you have an older camera, like really old, records on mini DV or 8mm high 8 or something, you're going to run into trouble in your post-production pipeline because there are missing links in that chain of events. You'll get it on tape, and it's like, yay, I have my movie done. It's on tape or it's on some format that you cannot get into your computer easily unless you have some box. So find a camera that works with your computer. I guess I could have said that. That's all I needed to say. Find a camera that works with your computer. The next thing on the list, I think, is the...
Actually, I do have a question.
Oh, yeah.
Where can you find cameras if you don't have them?
Yeah. Susan, The library has a couple of cameras you can check out, I believe.
No, to be honest, I'm not sure what the policy is.
Okay.
The youth services does have some cameras, and I'm not sure if they're available for checkout.
Okay.
Or if you can use them, like, if you could take them out of the library.
Right.
I'm not sure, but
Yeah.
the area that has them is the youth services area.
Okay.
Are they rentable?
They're probably, if they're available at all, they'll be checkout, so probably free of charge, if available. I would recommend talking to friends and family, find people on Facebook or whatever. Somebody you know has a camera that they're dying to lend you to make a movie with. Yeah, or you need to convince them. Or again, we're talking about where do you find a microphone or a lav mic or something. Well, I don't know if you know someone who has a church that does that kind of thing, or you go to a church, or there's a church youth group or something. A lot of places like that will have a camera or something. And sometimes, if you can't borrow it, what you need to do is convince the person who can borrow it that they need to be in your movie with you, because then they'll be on board and they'll bring the camera with them, and you're in. So think about it like that. That's another way to get it. So I'm going to put this on the tripod. It can be very political, trying to convince people that they have to help you with your movie. So don't be afraid to reach out and be as convincing as you need to be to get your movie to happen, because it's important that your movie happens. You should feel that way, because it is important.
I can envision what I want to do, and I can think of all the creative stuff, but the technical stuff, especially editing and that kind of thing. And so is editing kind of giving up some power to somebody else?
Yeah, so the question is editing giving up power? Yeah, it is. If you hand all the footage to somebody and you just say, here, just edit this movie, my job is done. If you're directing this film, you need to be right there behind the editor's back, like backseat driving. Unless it's an editor that you've worked a lot with, a good editor will be able to make a story out of almost anything that you give them. But yeah, you should be there, absolutely.
Otherwise, it becomes the editor's vision.
It becomes the editor's vision, or they may not have any idea what your vision was, and it just might not make sense at all. So,
Back in the
yeah.
80s, I sometimes worked with reel-to-reel and VHS to VHS stuff, and I can tell you that as an editor, I took the easiest, laziest way out, because you were very crunched for time. So unless somebody was telling me what to do every moment, I just did the easiest thing I could.
Yeah, very good point. So, yeah, and if you're the director, you'll have. If you're a director, you'll already. If you're making movies, ideally, as you're shooting the movie, you should be kind of thinking like an editor. So, we'll do that in a minute. Once we go through the equipment, we'll really kind of talk about the process of shooting a scene and thinking a little bit like an editor, so that you can actually cut it together when you're done. So, the next. Oh, any other quick questions, and we'll jump back into it. Okay, I'll go ahead and start. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
You said that we should be starting on a script. I guess I thought that you couldn't start on a script until Sunday morning, right?
Yeah. That's what she told you, is you shouldn't start on a script, or you can't start on a script because you won't know what the surprise is that you have to incorporate. I mean, look, that's the thing with the 24-hour festival. What does it say? There's a reveal. Requirements revealed, Saturday, November 10th at 11 a.m. The requirements, I don't know what they are. They won't tell me because they thought that I might be making a movie, and they knew that I'd be talking to all of you anyway. If they told me the requirements, believe me, I would tell you, because I think that, well, it's good to have requirements because it makes you be creative to try to fit them in, but it'll be something like if it's like last year or previous years, it'll be like you have to incorporate this poem or words from this poem in it, or you have to incorporate this location, or last year at the 24-hour festival, you had to have one scene that was shot on the sidewalk downtown. So someplace downtown on a sidewalk, for whatever reason. I think a really good idea is to come up with a story and come up with a whole movie as if there weren't any requirements. And then when they tell you the requirements, that's when you have to be creative. You can say, well, okay, how would these things fit into the story I thought of? Because that way you've got something to go on. It's like you already have, well, I have locations, I have some actors, and I have like a whole movie ready to happen. If the requirements are really screwy and weird, you might just have to laugh because it'll totally change what you're going to do. But you might have to sit down and say, well, okay, I've got this, I've got these people. It's like fitting all the puzzle pieces back together. But as long as you have puzzle pieces to fit back together, you're ahead of the game. If that answers your question, yeah.
I think I understand.
Yeah.
I mean, for example, if I have costumes from a certain period and I have a building from a certain period, then my movie might be of that period.
Yeah.
And then I plug whatever these requirements are into this,
Yeah.
this set.
Exactly. It's much easier to change like the script in terms of what people say, and it's much easier to just put more stuff into the movie. Like they'll say your movie has to include this flyer. This flyer here has to be in the movie somewhere. I'm just making that up, but it's much easier to just take the flyer and put it on the wall in your period piece next to something else, and problem solved. But you have your whole movie already going, up and running. So, yeah, great. Any other questions? Well, great. So I was just going over the production equipment checklist. We said video camera of some kind. Next thing I put on here were headphones. And the reason I put that is because I'm really trying to encourage everybody who makes a movie to pay attention to sound on your movie, once again. And how can you really know how your movie is sounding unless you can hear what you recorded? So every video camera that I've ever seen has a little headphone port. And just, have the headphones plugged in. It doesn't matter if you have them on your head, but they're there. You can shoot your movie. A lot of times you can actually listen while you're shooting, especially when somebody has a speaking part, and you can tell if you could hear it. You can tell if you heard an airplane flying over, or there's a train, or somebody honked their horn, somebody's talking. You can usually go back, flip it to media, and rewind to the clip and play it, and just listen after the take. Everything was great except I heard somebody laughing in the background. You cannot get rid of laughing from the background. I don't care what you say. You might be really good with editing and all kinds of crazy sound production, but you might spend 24 hours trying to remove laughing from a shot afterwards. So don't let stuff like that fly. Just do it again, and don't have somebody laughing back there. So headphones, even if they're stuck to your camera, this will maybe remind you about sound. And we'll talk about sound a little bit more too. Number 3, we're going to talk about sound right now. Number 3, a boom mic or a lav or a short shotgun microphone. Basically, the very best way to get sound when doing production is not to rely on the camera's built-in microphone. This camera has 2 built-in microphones. They're like little bat ears right here on the very front. And they're pretty omnidirectional. They hear everything in the entire room. It may be stereo, but we're recording with just these. They can hear that vent. It's like, do you want that sound in the background of your entire movie if you're shooting in here? I mean, it has a certain eerie feel to it, but it's probably not necessarily what you want. So a good way to get better sound is to use some microphone that plugs into your camera. That's what I've got right here for Justin, because it's broadcasting to him. There's another lav I have right here. You can get these from Radio Shack. You can get these from Best Buy. You can get them from, you might even be able to find them in like the AV department at Walmart or any place that carries electronics. They'll have some kind of microphone selection. Here, this has got a little shirt clip on it. It's meant to go on your shirt. This is also very omnidirectional, so it picks up from all the way around. The most important thing about a microphone is not necessarily, when you're trying to get good voice, it's not necessarily how pointed its field of listening is. There are some microphones that work like a spotlight. So if she's whispering over there, and I aim this over here at her, I'll be able to hear just her whispering and almost nothing else in the room. And I'm like 8 or 10 feet away. The most important thing about good sound is not how much of a spotlight is my microphone. It's just how close can I get this microphone to my actor. Because when you want to hear somebody talking, you want to hear all the crisp detail in their voice, or some little thing they do with their voice that carries some little essence of emotion that you do not want to miss with hearing in the background, then you need to get a microphone as close as humanly possible to them. If you don't have an external mic, then you can use just the microphones in the camera. When you want to shoot a scene that has someone talking, get the camera close to them. Like, don't go further than maybe 3 or 4 feet. It's a talking scene. It's okay if it's between 2 people or it's one person. Do a close-up of the person talking and then get a reverse of the other person talking. But keep this camera close. Keep it 3 feet away. I mean, if it's 4 inches away, you're going to have like a macro shot of their mouth moving, and that's maybe not what you want either. But it's sort of a balance of what you want. But the closer you can get your head, or the actor's head, to these microphones, the better the sound is going to be. I keep saying the same thing. I'm just excited, and I'm trying to drive the point home because I want your movies to sound good. So, if you have a lav like this, something interesting that you can do, and these are not super expensive. You can buy these. You could borrow one, again, probably from a church or a school or, I don't know, a job or work or something that has a little AV department. I'd say the library, but these are mine. You can't have these. I'm going to plug this in. Oops. Here we go. And it's on a wire, so you're limited by about this distance if you're using a wired lav, because the camera is recording the sound and it's also recording the picture. Sometimes with professional movie gear, there's a separate sound recorder, so there's somebody with a whole sound recorder here with this plugged in, and the camera is doing its own thing. Well, this you could, and I'm gonna improvise something really fast here. Oh, this is on. Turn this off. Let's see if I can take this apart without breaking it. A broom handle works just as fine, but this is a little microphone stand. Basically, what you need is a stick that somebody can hold. Mm-hmm. You will learn to improvise all kinds of stuff with making movies, because a lot of times you don't necessarily have the right stuff, but you can find stuff to make it work. How does this work? Well, let's see here. What I would like to do is have that out of there, but I'll use this piece I already removed. I'll put this back together afterwards. Well, I mean, it's kind of fitting. Here's the top of a microphone stand. This could be a broom handle, just something that's long. And we're going to make a little improvised boom microphone.
So when you said those are inexpensive, are we talking
Well-
about like $15 or $40?
It's more like $40, 30 or $40, all the way up to a couple $100, which is not inexpensive. But it's for the quality of a kind of microphone you could get for production. A lav is probably the best option. You can also get a short shotgun microphone, which looks more like you've probably seen it. They look like foam. They look like a black foam rubber kind of stick. I mean, it looks like let's say you took a corn dog and you painted it black and you stuck it on the top of a camera. That's about what it looks like. Well, here is my improvised boom. And can I have a volunteer, please? Come up here. Come around here. We're gonna set up. I'll improvise a little shoot here. I'm gonna aim this down and come right around here to the front.
Is lav a brand name or an acronym?
It's short for lavalier, which is just the kind. It's not the brand. It's the type of microphone, and it's meant to go right on your shirt. It's meant to clip on your lapel or somewhere. So, and I could adjust this up. So, I would hopefully have somebody else on my crew. So somebody is shooting, he's acting, they're talking. So right now I'm being camera department. Somebody else on your crew should have this job. They have the boom mic.
Suppose at this petty pace, day to day, until the last syllable of recorded time.
I'm holding it right here. You can't see me. You can see it now, but the cameraman will say, "It's in, get it out of the shot," and you'll lift it up until it's just out of the shot. And now go ahead and talk.
Life's but a walking shadow. A poor player struts and frets his hour upon the stage, and then is heard no more.
We've got some Shakespeare happening. And you can hear it, because this is less than 18 inches from him. And on camera, you wouldn't even be able to see the microphone. You can boom from above. You can boom from below. You can boom from inside of a plant. It could be a plant on the table. You could take this off and clip it to the salt and pepper shaker. If you wanted, you could clip it to his lapel, of all things, like it's meant to be used, and maybe hide it in his sweater or something. If it's on you though and it's hidden, what happens though when somebody moves? You just hear the sweater dragging around. So this is a very fast and dirty approach to getting good sound. Even this, I could shoot a whole movie with, and you'd have really good sound. So
You just want to be sure that you're not even getting shadows.
right, yeah, exactly. See, when I move this around, it's making a shadow in his face. That's a good point too. You need to somebody who's shooting would be looking at that. It's like so where can I go? I can go right here, and the shadow is more on the back. So if I'm over here, there's no shadow, and it's a good thing to think about when you're shooting. If everybody has their own kind of job, somebody will see that. If it's their job to see that, they'll see the shadow. So that's good. I won't spend too much more time on that. It goes into more and more advanced stuff. Like every single part you can take to a total extreme. So you don't have a whole lot of time to be really extreme about your production stuff. So take it with a grain of salt. If you feel like you want to have somebody talking and have really good sound and they have a little bit of distance from it, consider using a boom, but you don't have to. You could also just use this, or you could have a short shotgun microphone. Like I said, the black corn dog. If that's on top of your camera, yeah, that'll pick up sound better in front of the camera than just these. So it's just important that you think about sound and use microphones to your advantage. Just stay close to the camera. When in doubt, keep the camera close to whoever's talking, and you can listen to make sure, because you'll have some headphones or earbuds or anything that will let you listen after the fact. So let me pull this off of here. good. Okay, moving right along. Tripod. Seriously, use a tripod or something, because that's the number one indicator of a crappy film or a crummy, non-professional film, is that it's moving around like nuts. Now, people. You can go handheld. People do that all the time, but do it because I'm going to put this over here because it's in the way. Do it because you want it to be that way. So, let's say there's a scene where somebody arrives at home and the front door is smashed, and he knows somebody is supposed to be in there, but the front door is smashed. What happened? So he's going into the house. He's looking around. It's very dark. There's a light. Chandelier is swinging in the wind because the window's open. Somebody's ransacked the house. Well, maybe that's a good time to shoot handheld, because it's like he's going in and the point of view, you can picture this happening as a movie. The point of view is like a camera angle from behind his shoulder, and the camera guy or girl is going in with the camera, your hand held, you're just, what is going on? And it's like this point of view. And the fact that it's handheld reads as documentary, or reads as real life, and it puts you, as the audience, puts you in the moment. This is scary, this is really happening. So you can do that, but if that's not what you intend, if it's a romantic comedy and people are having lunch, don't make it look like you're going into this ransacked house. Don't give it that look, because that's how to look. And dolly. So here's a good solution for anyone who wants to do a really smooth dolly shot. People walking, or people are sitting in an office. It's like an establishing shot. A lot of times when you set the scene, you're in an office. The first thing you see is somebody picking up the phone. It's like ring, ring. Somebody picks up the phone, hello, and then the camera dollies across and sort of lays the scene of the office. Well, you can put a camera like this. I didn't bring one, but you can take this camera and borrow maybe some skater punks, or you are skater punks. Somebody has a skateboard. You can put this right onto a skateboard, or put this onto the skateboard and wrap some gaff tape around it 3 or 4 times so it doesn't roll off. If you can't find this, and you probably won't in Pueblo, use masking tape and not duct tape, because masking tape is meant to peel off stuff without leaving gunk. Duct tape is meant to gunk everything up. It's meant to ruin whatever you stick it onto for whatever reason. So use gaff tape, or use,
What about blue painter's tape?
Blue painter's tape, perfect, that's great. Yeah, blue painter's tape would be a good option. It's not as strong as this, so if you've got something that you're worried about falling off, just use a lot of it. But blue painter's tape is a really good thing to use. You can put this onto a skateboard. You can put the skateboard on a table and keep this near the edge so it doesn't see the edge of the table. And you can slide the skateboard right across and it will look very smooth. So if you need the table to be taller, maybe put a table on a table. I guess that's your problem. Figure out how to make a taller table and then put the camera on it with a skateboard. You can get a lot of mileage out of that. So let's see. And that's the dolly. Okay, lighting department. That's kind of my favorite thing when I'm working on films or indie films. I've worked as a gaffer on different independent productions, and that's really fun because that's the job of directing the light. It's sort of creating the story and setting the scene with lights. And again, it's a really important part of filmmaking, and it's if you do your job right, it just looks like a movie, and nobody really notices why it looks like a movie. So let's look at some of the equipment really quick. Here is a piece of foam core, and you'd call it a bounce card or a reflector. They call it a bounce card in the the movie industry. And let me set up a light really quick, and I'll show you why. I would say everybody should get one of these for their movie because it lets you fill in the lighting. It lets you bounce light off of it and onto your subject. Let me put up a light really fast. This is a whole little Lowell kit that has 4 or 5 different kinds of lights and little stands. It's very, very convenient. I'll show you a good alternative to this because you probably don't have access to this. Like you don't have this at your house and you can't get it at Home Depot very easily. But there's always another way. There's always a cheaper, faster, indie way to do it. So here's a little 1,000-watt light. Put a cable into it. And I'm hoping that I don't blow the breaker over here. If you're shooting at somebody's house or even your own house, something good to scout out is where in the world is the breaker box. A lot of times they put it in the backyard on the back of the building, but who knows where it is? It would be good for you to know because if you're shooting with a lot of lights, at some point the breaker will blow and you're in the dark until you get it fixed or you switch it back on. So another good thing, even if it's not a very bright light, a good practice for movie making, because you're all filmmakers now, a light is something special if you're a filmmaker, and people's eyes are special. So when you're going to turn on a light, let people know that you're going to switch on a light so they are not blinded. Just say striking, and you can turn it on. I'm going to strike this light, striking, and there you have it. There's a light. Well, let's can I have another volunteer really quick? Somebody from the end, or yeah, come on around. Let's look at the bounce card. So here's a light. We'll talk about lights in a minute. If you're shooting outside, and just come on right over here, stand right there. You're shooting outside in the sun, and this is a lot like this is like a sun simulator. Okay, if you're shooting outside in the sun, pretty much all you've got is the blinding sun in one place in the sky, and then the rest of his face is total shadow. It just goes into the shade. And it's like that. The real world outside is like that. Your eyes can make up for a lot of the difference. A camera doesn't see that difference. It will always see way too much light on one side and way too little on the other. So if you're shooting outside in the sun, what you need is a big piece of white cardboard. And watch what happens when I bring this right up here towards his face. We can see that. It just bounces light right up on there and it fills in all the shadows. It doesn't look any different, but it suddenly looks more like a movie because you can see his face, you can see the details. Okay, so if you're shooting outdoors, a really good thing to do is to have the sun at your back, so you're not dealing with the brightest of the light shining in somebody's face. It also lets them do better acting, because if you're acting and you've got the sun in your face, you can't even keep your eyes open. So then what you do is have a bounce card, and you can have it here, but you can kind of see how it shines up. Maybe that's natural, maybe that's what you want. You could justify it. He's at the beach, say. You want to justify it. That's like light from the sand coming up. You can kind of use this and then think like a ray of light. Or what a lot of people do is you'll put it up above and shine it right down like this. And you'll tip it, and it can look very, very natural. Justin could be shooting from that side, and this just bounces enough light down onto him to keep it natural. And if he's walking towards the camera and maybe the camera is going backwards. You might have a person on this side of a bounce card, a person on the other, and go ahead and walk forward. Be like this. Just keep walking. See, I'm just traveling right with him. And if we're in the sun, this would light his face the whole time. You just keep it just out of the shot. You just keep the camera down enough that you don't see any of this stuff going on. But the cheapest, and I'll turn this off, thank you. The cheapest thing to get to help you have good lighting outdoors is a bounce card. So, and yeah, that's it. Thank you. Yeah, awesome. Okay, or a reflector board. Spotlights and bulbs. Well, so this is a 1,000-watt professional film and TV light. Unless you know somebody that has a studio or whatever, you probably won't have a hold of that. So do what I did for years and years when I was making movies at home in my garage. You go to Lowe's or Home Depot or something and pick yourself up a lighting package, which is one of these guys. There you go. I'll go ahead and get my lighting kit set up here. These are about $7 or $8 at Lowe's. They're even cheaper if you go to, God, where have you seen these other, maybe
Hardware store.
hardware store? Yeah, or go to,
I've seen them at auto shop places.
yeah.
Mechanics use those for working.
Exactly, yeah. You could go to Harbor Freight Tools or any kind of like a tool store. You can get this. And I just got an incandescent light bulb. So a lot of light bulbs that you find now are fluorescent. I think these are all fluorescent, or they're compact fluorescent. Sometimes, and it's weird, sometimes compact fluorescent bulbs make weird colors on film, or because they're really actually not on all the time, fluorescent lights, they kind of blink really fast. The color of your movie will be going back and forth from sort of greenish to sort of reddish to sort of greenish. So I would say when you get your light, get an incandescent bulb. These are just, what you see is what you get. This color of light is what you get. So in there. I'm going to attach this to my professional lighting stand. There you go. This is maybe not quite tall enough unless everybody's sitting down around a table, but that's adequate to light the back of a room. What also works is, top of a door. If you're in a room, the door opens, you can clip it right to the top of a door. And that's great, that's right up by the ceiling. Clips to windowsills. The only thing to watch out for is these get really hot. So if you're shooting by a window or something, keep it out of the curtains. Don't wrap it in paper. Don't put it under a bed. I mean, I think you get it, but in the heat of filming, you might do crazy things. So pay attention to what can start fires, because it's really happening. It's not in the movie. Okay. You get an extension cord.
Dedicated to your art.
Just get a regular extension cord. I would say get a few of them. Don't go plugging a bunch of these into a power strip and expect it to work out very well, because the power strip has a little fuse in it and they'll start popping out. Also, power strips are really flimsy. Somebody will step on it, it'll go crunch, and you'll short it out. You'll start a fire or something. So, one light per cord, if at all possible. If you do it the other way, I told you so. So here. Also, don't get the cheap $6 extension cords that have only 2 pins, because those aren't rated very high. They're not rated high enough. They're certainly not rated to be safe. So yeah, it's a nice bright light. So if you had this up on a door in a room, it would cast some light, but it casts very shadowy, harsh light. Another thing you can do is aim it at a ceiling. If you're in a room that has pretend this is a ceiling. you aim a light like this at a ceiling, now it gives you let's look at these gentlemen over here. Observe. So very harsh, hard light, very soft, diffuse light, just by aiming it up at the ceiling. So see that they look a lot. They're thinking about nice things. They're plotting in the dark. You could put a light behind somebody in the dark, and you have a very different effect. Use lights to create effects for your film. A light used properly is like the perfect companion to your storytelling because it lets you set the scene. You don't even have to have much of a set. If it's a dark room, an interrogation room, it's just one guy, okay, in a chair, and then you just have like a light right over their head, right behind their head, and if everything else is dark, you created this complete intense scene with just lighting. So this brings me to something I don't have in equipment, which I said was work gloves, number 5, because if this is hanging up there and it's really bright and it's really hot, somebody's job, and it's going to be the gaffer. The gaffer is your electrician, lighting go-to person. It's his or her job to adjust the lights, get everything so it looks good. You've got to have some gloves to hang onto these, so get yourself some gloves. I have some lights for effects too, and maybe I don't want to go way over on time, but you can get these at like Lowe's too. There's a light bulb that's painted red, and use it in there, and you have a really good, convincing red effect. If you're doing it professionally, you get red gels. You worked in theater, and you know all about having gels on your lights for effect. It's hard to find gels in Pueblo. Where would you go to get?
Well, a lot of that kind of stuff actually comes out of other places.
Yeah. I've had to order them. You can order them on eBay or order it on you don't have time to order anything right now for this film. So yeah, go to Spring somewhere. So if you need red light, you can get a red light bulb. If you need blue light, you can go buy a blue light bulb. And it's really pretty much as easy as that. You only have just a few colors. They have green ones, they have black light bulbs, which are really kind of like magenta color. So for effects, I'd say right off the bat, just go get a color light bulb. Yeah?
Have you ever like just bought some cellophane paper from a hobby store?
Like hobby store, or like Dollar Tree or something.
Is that too weak? Or?
That's a really good point. Gels. The heat, yeah, gels and cellophane look similar. Gels are meant to sit there. They're made of like high temperature polyester, and they can sit there for an hour or more, 10 hours without burning. That other stuff, I think, would just shrivel up, or could start on fire and poison you, poison gases and whatnot. So I would stay away from any kind of a clear plastic in front of this. This gets really hot. I mean, I would advise against sticking anything onto this except for a professional lighting job. So, yeah, just use a colored light because the bulbs are meant. The color on the bulb is meant to take that temperature. Extension cords, work gloves, gaff tape. We talked about using blue painter's tape instead of gaff tape. That's a really, really good option. I'm glad you said that. The painter's tape is heavier than masking tape, and it comes off walls without tearing the paint off, and that's exactly what you want when you're going to tape this to or clip this on a door, and you're going to maybe you have this thing, and maybe somebody you know has a band instead of a microphone stand in a bedroom or something, and you have this kind of taped to the stand, and then maybe you have this thing taped to the wall so that it casts a shadow or something. You're gonna have tape everywhere, all over people's stuff to get the lighting right. If you feel like you have time to do it. Again, you don't have to do crazy stuff with the lighting. Sometimes a scene is already lit when you get there, especially if you want it to look pretty close to how it already is. The cameras have a good pickup. You don't have to add huge amounts of light for a video camera. A lot of old film cameras, you had to put huge amounts of light in just to make a room look natural. So that's lighting. And I'll just flip to production, and then
Thank you
we'll
very
wrap
much.
it
I
up.
gotta take off.
Yeah, exactly.
I appreciate it.
Flip to production on this. This is a little breakdown of the crew. And this is for you to just go through again. You can go with the checklist, but this explains the name of that role, like the producer, the director, the assistant director. For your movie, each person is probably going to be 3 or 4 or half of these things if it's the 2 of you. All of these things are going to get done, which means you probably will each have done maybe half the roles, or maybe you'll share some. But that's for you to go through, just to help you think about the roles and what has to happen. There's a picture of a 3-point lighting setup in the back. This is a pretty basic setup. You don't have to stick to this at all, but when in doubt, if you do this, it'll look pretty good. It'll look decent. You'll have a good backlight. You'll have some light right on the front of a person's face, and you have another light or just a bounce card on the side to fill in the light a little bit. And that's it. That's the gist of everything I can think of in a nutshell. You guys have been great. I've been up here talking 4 hours, and nobody's really run away in a huff or to death. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Great. Yeah.